Hello and welcome to another Wednesday live stream. Today we're talking about the Women's Rodeo World Championships, and today I'm super excited to have Sean Gleason, CEO of the PBR, coming to us from his boat in Pueblo, Colorado. Welcome, Sean.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and Bobby Mote, president of the WCRA. How's it going, Bobby?
Going good.
Thank you. It's pretty rare when we can get the two of you corralled in a live stream. I know, Sean, that you've been super busy pivoting to make PBR live events happen, bring them to life back on television. And so I would love to just kind of turn it over to you at this moment. And Bobby, I'm gonna take you off screen here. And Sean, talk about what it has been like for you the last couple months in light of this COVID situation and what you've been able to do for the sport of rodeo and Western lifestyle in general and bull riding with the PBR.
Well, it was, I think we were the last sport in North America to actually have an event. We were headed to Duluth, Georgia, and on our way to that stop, the governor of Georgia issued guidance that gatherings should be limited to 150 people or fewer, and we had a sold out arena in Georgia that we were headed to. And so we pivoted. We made the adjustments that we needed to make. We went into Duluth and had the event for television only and started making our plans at that point because we knew it was a matter of when we were going to get back to events for television, not if. And so we started looking around. We held, I think we were the first sport back with an event in Guthrie at Lazy E and held 3 events there. And then we moved on to Las Vegas, where we're bucking bulls now in the Monster Energy Team Challenge.
So the last to go down and the first one standing to come back, huh?
Yeah, I think we're pretty fortunate. We have a uniquely individual sport in bull riding that, limited number of contestants, and we can pull these events off with a skeleton crew. And so we had an advantage over a lot of other sports in terms of just the sport itself and how it's conducted. And that gave us the opportunity to get back and kind of lead the way. And we're proud of the efforts of the team to put a very safe and responsible plan together to get back to work.
Absolutely. Let's transition into the partnership with World Champions Rodeo Alliance, WCRA. It's been 2 years that relationship has been in existence officially. How did it come about in the beginning?
Well, it was, there was a lot of, as you're well aware, there was a lot of turmoil or issues in rodeo that they were trying to address. I was not, frankly, a big fan of the ERA model. I didn't feel like it would work well, given that it patterned itself after the PBR and really wasn't aimed at adding anything. It was aimed at replacing other institutions and organizations. And so when I was given an opportunity to meet with Gary McKinney and some others and talk about path forward, I was excited at helping to craft the WCRA model, which is completely additive to rodeo contestants, a great opportunity for them to put more money in their pockets and have some freedom to compete as professional athletes. And so we started the partnership that day and crafted this plan together.
And how's it been going the last couple of years?
It's been going great. I mean, with any startup, you've got a lot of learning curve and you've got a lot of hurdles that get thrown up in front of you. We jumped most of those, and we're actually really turning up the heat a little bit on the success of WCRA when we got hit with a pandemic. So it's a little unfortunate on the timing, but we've been working equally as hard on getting WCRA back to action as we have on the PBR.
That's great. Well, we're super excited today to be talking about the WRWC, another acronym, but
another acronym.
We all need another one in rodeo, right? The Women's Rodeo World Championship. So I'm going to bring Bobby back in here, and can you guys, whoever wants to go first, talk about how this event came to be? What was the origin of the Women's Rodeo World Championships?
Well,
you want to hit it, Bobby, or you want me to?
Yeah. Okay, so Sean and Gary McKinney, I mean, they had been talking, and we bounce ideas back and forth all the time. And last year there was discussion about how we could work within an existing women's rodeo organization and create a bigger and better finals. And then that conversation has just morphed into what could we do, what could we do on our own? Because one of the really cool things about, even as big as the PBR is, or as new as the WCRA is we're able to pivot and move pretty quickly and adapt to whatever opportunity there is. And so just like you've seen them do, as the team challenge has been something that they've had on the books for a while, and the COVID opportunity just it helped maybe to speed that along. Same thing for us, the opportunity for women, the growth that we can see, the potential growth for women in professional rodeo is obviously there. And so we just felt like together collectively we could take the lead on trying to put something together to make it as good as possible. Breakaway, we were the first rodeo organization to treat breakaway as an equal and pay equal money. And so we saw Jackie Crawford at Chicago win $50,000 just right alongside all the other rodeo athletes. And then, the energy that's put into that one discipline has been awesome to watch. And I think that there's obviously been a lot of energy around barrel racing, but, women's team roping, there's a lot of potential there. There's a lot of lady team ropers who don't have a lot of, call it equal money type of opportunities in team roping. And so, and then, finally, to capitalize on some of these professional rodeo athletes is a women's all-around championship. And so, having awarding an all-around championship and a cash bonus to make it worth their while to put in the extra effort to not be just great in one discipline, but at multiple ones is an exciting thing. And so, all of those things are weighed into planning this event. Sean and his team at the PBR, they've got the PBR World Finals in Las Vegas. It's a huge, festival type of event, not to mention obviously the World Championship, what goes on in T-Mobile Arena is awesome, but then all the ancillary stuff that goes on along with that, then with our partners at South Point, the Equestrian Center there, I think is a perfect home to have this event. It's going to put it on a big stage, and it's been fun to get to see go to the level that we're at right now. And I think that this is just the beginning.
From your perspective, Sean, why women's championship? Why a women's rodeo world championship, and why now?
Well, I think the main reason is that the women were completely underserved in the sport of rodeo. And as Bobby mentioned, we saw that with the rise of breakaway, and really where do they go and what do they do and how do they compete at a professional level. Let's face facts. PBR is a for-profit business. We think there's an opportunity to create value for women in rodeo, but also pursue an event and a system that we can generate and create profit from. And when you do that, and I have a pretty, I guess I would be fairly well grounded if I said I know what I'm talking about on this issue, because I've been with the PBR for 21 years. And as a for-profit Western sports entity, I know that we wouldn't have made it if we were out trying to make decisions by committee and chase around dollars that don't exist and try and spread them out thinner and thinner. And so, I see it as a business opportunity, but I really do, at the core of it, just like we've done for bull riders, we anticipate that this business opportunity is going to turn into a huge, huge opportunity for women in rodeo. And they need that. They deserve it. And it's a great addition to PBR's offering.
Yeah. Well, it's been exciting. I've been away from rodeo for a while, and women are taking over the sport, and there is a lot of pent up demand, it seems like, and it's fun to get to shine the light on them, because there's some really great athletes, fantastic cowgirls, obviously in these four disciplines, and good hands on, on the ranch as well. So if you've just joined us, we're talking about Women's Rodeo World Championships, and just some high level things that are important about it is it's a $750,000 guaranteed payout. And I'll flash that back up on the screen here, because it's something that we're super proud of. And it's the first ever women's finals with this type of a payout. And there's going to be 4 disciplines competing. There's going to be heeling, heading, and they're treated equally from a payout standpoint, and barrel racing and breakaway roping. And so we've got a big all-around bonus, equal pay. You can tie on hard and fast in the heeling. So if you don't like to dally, but you can rope feet, girls, you can tie on. And we're going to have some announcements coming up on very soon on June the 18th. It's going to talk about all the different ways in which you can participate. But Bobby, how would you like to take over just the couple different ways and the couple different paths in which you can participate in this marquee event?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 2 ways to get in, or you can get in both ways. And so there, you can compete as an open entry, meaning you can enter when the entry is open. You can enter, put your name in the hat in any one or all of the disciplines: heading, heeling, barrel racing, breakaway roping, as you mentioned. You can also qualify through the WCRA. There's certain advantages through qualifying through the WCRA. One of them being you don't have to pay an entry fee. You qualify in the top 4, then you're directly in what we might refer to as the show, the performances, which is the top 24. And we'll get into the format and how you advance through the format here in a moment. But so if you're one of those top 4 in the WCRA leaderboard, then you can qualify with no entry fees, no stall, and your room's paid for. And so, big benefit there, and you bypass basically all the preliminary qualifying rounds. If you're 5 through 64 on the leaderboard, then you get to compete just amongst that group with the opportunity to advance. And so your odds are so much better to qualify through the WCRA, but you can also qualify as an open entry. And so open entries will be in probably larger pools of people, but they will be divided. And this is new and this is interesting. We won't spend a lot of time on it, but they will be divided between pros and challengers. And so the idea is that in the qualifying portion of this event, if you are in I would say sometime around that June 18th release, we'll be laying out exactly what qualifies as a pro and what qualifies as a challenger. There's already classification methods in place in the team roping, so it's pretty simple there. Equistat has been tracking barrel racing horse and rider earnings for years and years and have a ton of data that we've compiled. And then the breakaway roping, we've compiled all of the winnings data from every organization or large standalone event. And so basically based on your winnings, we'll determine whether you're a challenger or a pro. The neat thing about that is if you're like my daughter, who would be considered a challenger, has only won a few $1,000s, she's competing against people like herself to earn a chance to advance the progressive round. The pros, if you're, like Larry D guy, then you're competing against people like yourself. Once you hit the progressive round, everybody's the same. It doesn't matter where you came from. You have to win on the same, basically on level playing field from there on. You move from the progressive round into the performances, and the performances is an elimination style. You start at 24, move to 12, and then down to 6, and that's where the big money's paid at. But if you make it into the performance, you're guaranteed money. So it's a great opportunity. Qualifying through the WCRA is, if you're not familiar, we have an app, WCRA, or app.wcrarodeo.com, and you can choose any rodeo or any jackpot that you're going to earn points. Those points will be awarded to you on the leaderboard. We track the leaderboard. As I mentioned, the top 64 will advance into the WCRA bracket. That qualification doesn't count against your 2 entries. And so if you were like, look, I really want to make sure that I make it into the performance because that's where the big checks are written, then you could qualify through the WCRA pool, and then you could also enter open. One of the really cool things is in the timeline and the way that things happen out there in Vegas, the WCRA pool goes first. And so if you were to compete twice in the WCRA pool, round 1, round 2, and you came up short and you didn't advance to the progressive round, you could move on and say, I'm going to go over here to the open pool and try again. So the point is, if you load your horses up and head out to the South Point, you can plan on having ample chances to compete and advance and win money. And so I think it's a great opportunity.
What do you think this event and its inaugural year, Sean, means for the future of women in rodeo?
Well, I think, Bobby touched on some of it, the different ways to get in and enter this event. But I think everybody that's in and around the sport of rodeo knows it's a major, massive commitment. It's different than a lot of sports, a lot of professional sports. I mean, you not only have to be good, but you have to be in a life position where you can go up and down the road and compete week in and week out. You've got to have the money and the resources. And so, I think this is an important event that hopefully we see a lot of athletes, the great women athletes in rodeo, that maybe aren't out there competing week in and week out, and they've got an opportunity to get through and shine on that stage. And I think, if you think about what you want in sports, you want the best athletes on any given Sunday competing on the field and entertaining the fans and competing against one another. And so this format does that. It gives everybody an opportunity, but you still got to earn it. You still got to compete and make it past the other competitors to get into that final round. And so I'm excited about the fact that we're creating a platform, not just in the World Championships, but through WCRA, in which people can compete given their life circumstances at a less aggressive level than it takes sometimes to make it to the NFR or make it up and down the road week in and week out. And so this is a fantastic platform for women to be professionals and earn professional money without necessarily having to give up their lives to do it.
That's right. One of the things that I've enjoyed the most about being involved in WCRA is the gals who rodeoed in high school and maybe even in college. And then because they didn't really focus on barrel racing, they decided to go on and develop and, have a career or raise a family and have a career. Or I know a gal that actually played college basketball because rodeo beyond high school just wasn't really an option for her. And some of those gals now are coming off the bench, so to speak, and they're legitimate competitors because they competed at a high level when they were young. Now maybe their kids are of an age where they can get back in the practice pen and they can begin, getting their horses tuned up and all that. And I think that we're going to see some gals show up at this Women's Rodeo World Championships and throw their hat in the ring for that $750,000, their chunk of that money that maybe we haven't heard from in 15 years. And it's really going to be exciting to see them come from all edges of the globe, all over our country and even Canada.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the key is incentive. There hasn't been anything to incentivize these lady athletes to go from, once they were done with high school rodeo or once they were done with college rodeo, there hasn't been enough incentive to do it. And so, to date, to be at a high, level of, barrel racing as an example has been really their best opportunity. It is tough, like crazy tough. And you got to make a commitment to just live with your horse on the road all year long to have a chance to see if you can make it to the NFR or or to a fraternity, trainer and rider. There are options, but yet they all, I'm not saying to be at the highest level, you don't need to be all in, but does all in really mean you need to live like a gypsy in your trailer all year long to do it? And so I think that what'll happen in Vegas is the cream's going to rise to the top, and the skill, those ladies with the best skills will prevail, and it won't be who won the truck and trailer race all year long, but it'll be who actually had the best skills and showed out there.
Right. To just simplify the paths, there's really two main paths. There's a WCRA path, and you've got to nominate and earn points on the leaderboard in the WCRA world. And then there's an open path, and open entries have not happened yet. We're going to announce that very soon, but you can choose if you want to nominate and earn a spot in the WCRA path in one of the 64, or you want to enter the open path as well, you can. And so can you shine a little bit on that, just very simply, Bobby? And I know if we have time today, we might get into a couple slides, but can you talk about, actually, why don't I just pull one up here, because I have it right here. And I'll make it big and take our mugs off of here. Let me get to slide 13. We were talking about this earlier today, Bobby. Go ahead.
Okay, so as you see, the WCRA leaderboard, as I mentioned, 1 through 4 in the leaderboard will go right to the performances. The performances, we're going to take 24. Those 24 will have qualified by either the WCRA leaderboard or the open to the world pools. So obviously there's 20 spots left if 1 through 4 have come to the leaderboard, and so there will be 18, or there'll be six athletes, I'm sorry, will eventually come through the WCRA leaderboard pool. And the way that'll work is 5 through 64 in the leaderboard will compete twice. And so I'm gonna lay this out for the roping events, and then I'll explain how the format is slightly different in the barrel racing. But what'll happen is 5 through 64 will compete twice. Round 1, the 4 fastest times. Round 2, the 4 fastest times, and then the top 10 in the aggregate will be who advanced to the progressive round. The progressive round is a one head competition of 18 athletes, and out of those 18, the top 6 will advance to the performance. Okay, and so to shed a little bit of light on that, if for instance you missed your first calf and you came back and you won first, second, third, or fourth on your second one, then you would have a chance to advance to the progressive round, and it's basically a clean slate for you. If you're like, look, I'm good at catching all of my calves, and you rope 2 of them and 4 flat or whatever, and you're in the average, the aggregate, then you would advance that way. So there's something for everybody. In the open to the world pools, they'll be divided up equally based on entries. And so those numbers are a little murky until we get a little closer and we have all the entries in. But we'll divide them into even numbers, those pools, although those pools will be larger than the CRA leaderboard pool. So same thing, the same format. They'll run 4 fastest times in round 1, round 2, and then the rest will come from the aggregate into a progressive round. That progressive round will be fed into by all of the open pools, and those athletes will advance out of the progressive round into the performances. And so once you hit the performances, it's a clean slate. It's almost like 2 separate competitions. The goal being to make it into the perfs. And so the difference in the barrel racing is just simply that they do have 2 rounds in their pools, but we're taking the top 16 fastest times overall. And that's kind of a method that's kind of borrowed from the futurity world, where if you're, say after round 1, you're winning maybe in the top 6 spots or something, you may choose to not run your horse the second time because you're going to advance. And so that modification was put in there to try to lessen the runs on the barrel horses as much as we can. So if you did well on your first one, you would run 1 in the pools, 1 in the progressive round, and then you'd be in the performances. So those are the 2 basic ways to get in. With all that, we also have what's called a redemption round. And so if you weren't able to advance through either of the pools, there's kind of a Hail Mary round, if you might want to call it that, where you can have one more shot at it right there and possibly advance into the progressive round that way. So, the moral of the story is when you show up to Vegas, you'll have multiple opportunities to not only advance, but opportunities to win money. And so there's going to be a lot of competition. We'll do everything we can to try to keep it as even as possible, as relates to stock and the ground and our ground rules. We put a lot of stuff in there about trying to make the ground as good as we can for the barrel racing and as even as we can with the stock. So it'll be a great competition.
For sure. Let me see here. Where do we want to go? If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them. I see Tamara said, let's rope. Thanks for commenting, Tamara. Brooke gave us the high fives a little bit ago. Janice said, exciting. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. I will tell you that that the rules that we're showing here are somewhat unofficial. We're just optimizing everything, making sure that everything is dialed in. But generally speaking, there's two paths, as Bobby alluded to, WCRA path and then the open path. And there's going to be a set of benefits that come with entering early. There's some reduced entry fees that are going to be a part of that when the open entries open up. And there's going to be packages that include a room and a stall, so we're trying to set this up so that it's handy for you ladies who are interested in coming. And by all means, tell your friends about this event. And there's time. There's a lot of rodeo happening, between now and this event, the 3rd through the 7th of November. And so you're going to be able to get tuned back up after this quarantine period. Nominate if you're interested in coming in the WCRA path, or putting your chips down for the open path.
One thing that we haven't talked about is that facility. The South Point Equestrian Center is awesome. They have climate controlled stalls and they're really, really nice. When you show up with your trailer, you drive into the stall area and somebody meets you with a cart to help unload your hay, your tack, everything, to take it to a tack stall. You take your horse to your stalls, and they're fantastic. And then a bellman comes to get all your, because it's not like who wants to go unhook their trailer and then throw it in the back seat of their truck and then drive around to the hotel registration desk. The bellman comes and picks up your clothes and your bags and everything, and so you can go park your trailer and you're done. It's one of the coolest experiences. They have 2 fantastic arenas with a warm-up arena, and I've heard a rumor that there may be more than that by the time we get there, with fantastic ground, all climate controlled. It's a heck of an experience just to be there. And so I can't think of a better place to have this competition where you can go and you can literally go from your room, stop by and get a coffee on your way down to go take care of your horses and saddle, and never have to even go outside. It's really it's a neat experience.
Sean,
well, we've also got the PBR Velocity Tour Finals and the PBR World Finals going on during the same time. So a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. I've only been doing that in November for 21 years, and I can tell you it's a good time. So there's a lot going on in town at that time, and it's going to be a great addition to the lineup for PBR World Finals week.
Absolutely.
Well, you can offer some ticket packages to T-Mobile
Absolutely,
along with the entry.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and we'll be announcing a lot of that stuff in the coming weeks. But for those who haven't been to the PBR World Finals, Sean, what does that look like in conjunction? I know that the details maybe are being worked out, performance times and stuff, but you'd be able to go and compete and pick a perf to go watch the bull riding and work it all in. I'm assuming, is that right?
Yeah, the Velocity Tour Finals are actually at South Point. They'll be on the weekend right before we get started with the Women's World Championships. And so it's right in between the end of the Velocity Tour Finals, and then the perfs will actually be during the first few performances on the same day as the performances of the PBR World Finals. So we'll have an afternoon perf for the ladies, and then the best bull riders in the world will be on the best bulls in the world that evening at T-Mobile. Fan zone, trade shows, lots of activity. It's a lot of fun.
Very cool. Well, I don't have a lot more. I'll just tell you, if you've just joined us kind of toward the end here, we're talking about the $750,000 guaranteed payout Women's Rodeo World Championships, November 3rd through the 7th, during the PBR World Finals and the Velocity Tour out there at South Point. And we've got, we're going to have the best women competing in 4 disciplines with equal money paid out in all 4 disciplines: heading, heeling, breakaway, and barrels in order of importance. Just kidding. I'm just kidding about that. I could get some hate mail over that. But it's fun to talk about heading and heeling for the ladies. I mean, we've been at the WCRA, we've been talking about breakaway for the last couple of years, and that being super exciting. Of course, we love barrel racing too, but now we really get to shed the light and draw attention to these ladies who love to team rope, and really looking forward to seeing them in Las Vegas. Is there anything, Sean, any parting words that you would have to kind of send us off here?
You know, I debated whether I was going to bring this up or not, but I think it's important for all ladies to understand that we spent months upon months working diligently to try and align this with the WPRA. We wanted to be additive to the initiatives that are happening that are good things for ladies. It's not something that we're trying to do to hurt them or take anything away from them. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, politics got in the way, and they effectively ghosted us. And so we decided to move forward with this event anyway. And had it not been for WCRA and Gary McKinney and the PBR and the fortitude that we have to try and make this happen, there'd be a $750,000 event for ladies that just frankly wouldn't exist. And it drives me nuts. I mean, I've been dealing with it for decades, as you well know, JD. But you know, it's been a long road. And so we actually, some folks reached out. We'd encourage anybody in the WPRA that would like to see this money count and be wrapped up into other initiatives for the ladies. Tell your board members, please approach WCRA and or PBR and myself, and we would love to work with them to figure out a way to make this a unifying event in women's rodeo and not something separate.
Well, that's a great point. You know, our as far as the WCRA goes, like we've tried to, we are open to working with any rodeo organization, and we have what is it, JD, over 200 alliance partners now.
260. Yes.
Nearly every regional rodeo association is involved. So many different, you know, one-offs and jackpot producers and things are involved, and they can all see the benefit in it. And so, you know, I spent a career trying to make a living in rodeo and was fortunate enough to have some success, but I just know that it's not as good as it should be yet. It's not as good as it could be. You know, and I think that what we've seen in breakaway roping is that you know, our women athletes embrace, you know, they're just maybe more forward thinking than everybody else is, and they embrace the opportunity. And so, like, it just makes sense to say, look, if there's a group of people who want to make things better for themselves, and then let's try to create some incentive there. And so it's been a lot of fun to see how that's been received, and we're going to do everything we can to make it as good as possible for women in rodeo, and to just, you know, every day in our office, our team of people, JD, you know this, we're always trying to figure out how to make it better. And, you know, to Sean's point about trying to work with the WPRA or work with other organizations, you know, it's just, all you can do is ask, and if they don't want to do it, then what we can't do is let that stop progress. And so, you know, everybody included in this conversation is pretty good about just taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, and say, let's, you know, this is a good idea. This is a worthwhile initiative. Let's do it. And let's, you know, figure out as we go how to make it better and better. And so, you know, the only question I have for you, Sean, is like, in your vision for what you think women's professional rodeo could be, you know, where do you see this going? Because this is just the beginning, right?
Yeah. I think, as you know, Bobby, we talked a lot about whether or not we should have a tour leading up to this, or should we just launch the event. WCRA provides a great platform that we don't really need a tour. But I think that there's other big events that we want to create throughout the year on the way to the Women's World Championships. And so, those, you got to build these things one brick at a time. This is the biggest brick and the first brick, and you can't have a tour and you can't have other stops that put money in women's pockets and lead the way and the path to this event until you have the big event. So we're starting with the right place. Put up a lot of money. As you guys well know, I wanted it to be $1 million, and we couldn't quite get there from a budget perspective. And, but that's the goal. The next step for the WRWC is, let's get it to $1 million. It needs to pay out at least $1 million. That first $1 million that PBR paid to Chris Shivers, it was a stretch. We didn't have it in the bank, and Randy Bernard said, "Let's go pay $1 million," and we're all scratching our heads, going, "Where's that going to come from?" We were fortunate that we were able to make that work and make it happen. And now, now our goals are to continually increase the earning opportunities for bull riders, and it'll be the same with women's rodeo. We'll continually look at pushing the boundaries on how we create value, opportunity, money, fan engagement, sponsorship, all those things that put money in people's pockets. And that's what we'll be focused on.
Well, and I just have to say, on behalf of WCRA and our whole team, thank you, PBR, for being a leader in the sport. If you've been living under a rock, I'll just clue you in. PBR is the most successful sports property in Western lifestyle. And so you guys have paved the way, and we're honored to be, riding into the future. And we're super excited, as we've said multiple times on this Zoom or on this live stream, that we're doing this Women's Rodeo World Championships. And tell your friends, if you don't know anything about it, reach out to us. I've got some ways to contact us here at the WCRA. We're accessible. We want to answer your questions, and the PBR is the best in the world in Western lifestyle about promoting. And so we intend to make this a big event. And so, if you guys don't have anything else, Bobby, you good? Do you have anything?
Yeah. We're gonna, and the plan is every Wednesday at 3 to continue to do this, and we'll pick different topics of discussion and have different people on here. But the goal is that, if you don't know anything about it yet, that you can watch some of these Facebook lives, or it's on YouTube also, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Where they can, get their questions answered. You can type in questions in the comments after, if you're watching the replay, share this with your friends. Our goal is to try to answer everybody's questions and educate everybody as much as possible. But, at the end of the day, we want to see as many of the best women's rodeo athletes out there in Vegas this November. I think it's going to be an awesome time. Yeah.
Sean, any parting words?
Until then, tune in to CBS Sports Network and CBS Live every weekend in June. It's been a long time since anybody said live from Las Vegas, but we're coming live from Las Vegas in one of the coolest bull riding arenas that's ever been invented. So tune in every weekend on CBS Sports Network and CBS leading up to Sioux Falls, where we'll have fans in the stands July 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Fantastic. Well, have a great rest of your day. Thank you guys for coming on, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You bet. Bye-bye. If you're still with us, I want to throw up a couple things. You can check out the Nominate When and You're In path and the events that you can nominate coming up in the next 7 days by going to our website, WCRARodeo.com, and click on events, and then Women's Rodeo World Championships, and check out the Nominate When You're In path and learn more about that there. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out, 833-ENTER-UP, or you can email us at support@WCRARodeo.com. And Sammy Jo and Kai and her whole support staff will do their very best to answer any questions that you may have. Tune in. We'll be back with you next Wednesday, 3 p.m. Central Time, and have a great night.